So thank you for joining today's webinars. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of ASA Safety Working Group and the biopharma section of ASA, so welcome to the second part of our webinar series. So the topic of today's webinar is the imaging drug safety with AI, a quantitative leap forward. So this webinar series reflects our working group commitment to advance both science and patient safety through interdisciplinary collaboration and forward-looking solutions. So it's so wonderful to see so many members of our community here joining with us to advance innovation and patient safety together. Before we start our part 2 of this webinar, let's take a brief moment to recap some highlights from part 1. So Dr. Wei from Merck demonstrated how AI agent framework enhance the accuracy and scalabilities of quantitative safety evaluation, such as modeling causality relationship and extracting adverse drug reactions. So, and also Dr. Maven illustrated how open source tool and AI combined with a large language model can modelize the DMC data package. And also the third speaker of Dr. Zhu from Takeda showcased the AI-driven platform and a systematic framework for automating safety signal causality assessment. So the recording of part 1 webinar is already posted in the ASA Safety Working Group website. So if you missed the part 1, feel free to watch the recordings. And so those talks set up the stage for today's programs, which is shifting our focus from safety evaluation framework and tools to cutting-edge real-world evidence and post-marketing safeties. So in part 2, we were honored to welcome Dr. Yong Ma from FDA, who will share the practical lessons from deploying natural language process in post-marketing surveillance. And also, she will highlight advance in demographic extraction and duplicated reportings and EHR identification, social media analytics. So our second speaker, Dr. Xiaoyan Wang from Tulane University, will highlight AI's role in unlocking real-world data and evidence, accelerating evidence generations, and also automatically supporting pharma value chains. So following those talks, our expert panel, Dr. Bob Ball from US FDA and Dr. Bill Wang from Merck will discuss the technical progress, implementing challenge and future opportunities throughout the drug safety development life cycles. So thank you once again for being with us today. So let's first dive in this exciting section. Let's begin with Dr. Yong Ma's talk, which is natural language processing in FDA post-marketing activities. Dr. Yong Ma is a leading mathematical statistician in the Division of Biometric 7, Office of Biostatistics, CEDA of the US FDA. So she leads a review team supporting post-marketing safety studies and own counter drug applications. Dr. Ma joined the US FDA in 2015 as statistical reviewer and specialized methodology tailored for the post-marketing safeties. And prior to joining FDA, she served as assistant research professor at George Washington University. So Dr. Ma brings over 25 years of experience in statistical analysis and research. She has co-authored more than 50 peer-reviewed publications. So Dr. Ma is also an active member of ASA Safety Working Group and working at Working Strain Studies since 2016. So let's welcome Dr. Ma for the presentations. Let me stop sharing. So Dr. Ma, the floor is all yours.
Okay, you can hear me, right?
So Yang, we cannot hear you clearly.
Oh,
Oh, right now it's okay.
okay. All right. Let me share my screen now. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay. Again, thank you, Liang, for the introduction, and thank you everyone for coming to this part 2 of the AI webinar. Let me first, let's see. Okay, disclaimer. So the presentation reflects my views, not the FDA's. And this material was presented earlier, a couple of weeks ago at the ASA Biopharmaceutical section, RISW. Yeah. So if some of you have already listened, so this is probably not that new. So in this presentation, I'll share with you 5 NLP projects ranging from 2018 to the present day. The first 2 projects are for pharmacovigilance, where we enhance the FDA's FEARS system. Project 3 and 4 are for pharmacoepidemiology, where we extracted electronic health record data. Project 5 is actually a public health emergency response surveillance during the COVID-19 time period, where I actually work with a graduate student and extracted social media data. So first, let's talk about the FEARS challenges. FEARS is FDA's adverse event reporting system, a very important system to capture drug adverse events and drug use errors. Demographic data such as age, gender, weight, race, ethnicity are required to be reported in the structured field. However, a lot of times they're missing. But we also have an unstructured field, a narrative field, where some of the information actually will exist in those narratives. This missing data issue got worse over time, from the 22% of missing age in 2002 to 44% in 2018. So this really impact our drug safety monitoring on pediatric population, because we need to know patient's age to see whether this is a kid or grown up. We also have the similar issues with gender, weight, race, ethnicity. The second issue is duplicate reporting, because consumers, their physicians, and manufacturers all can report adverse events. So sometimes adverse event may be reported multiple times to the system. This will inflate case counts and result in overestimate reporting rates and incorrect risk assessment. And it also impact our signal prioritization. So going back to year 2019, that time period, we were approached by our pharmacovigilance colleagues to help evaluate a rule-based NLP for missing age extraction. This was a very simple algorithm. It's rule-based, so it's way before the generative AI time. This algorithm searches for numbers followed by years or years old. And if years are not available, we'll continue to look at months. And it will extract the first age found in the narrative text. It's simple, but it's really actually quite practical because you don't need training data and it can work across different FEARS runs. So we evaluated a sample of the report and also applied to multiple year reports. And the work was published in 2021 in Pharmaceutical Medicine. So what we found is that in the sample with over 1,000 reports, this simple algorithm can achieve 98.5% accuracy, 92.9% specificity, and 94.9% precision. These numbers are really pretty good. And when we apply the algorithm to the 2002 to 2018 reports, the overall missing data percentage went down from 37% to 27%. And 1 million additional reports with age data was extracted. And for pediatric case under 6 years old, these reports are doubled. You may see that there's still remaining 27% with missing data. However, these are the cases where age was not even in the unstructured field, not in the narratives. So NLP really reached its limit because it can't create data, right? So after the age extraction, we further looked into gender, weight, race, ethnicity. So there were tailored mini algorithms developed for each demographic variable. And we had very varying results. For gender algorithm, we achieved 98.6% sensitivity with 33% reduction in missing data. However, for weight, race, ethnicity, we had high specificity, but low sensitivity. And mainly because a lot of this information are just not there. So you can't extract what doesn't exist. The detail of this project can be found in Frontiers in Drug Safety Regulation in 2022. So this is also published work. So in the second project where we try to tackle the duplicate reporting issue, this is using a more advanced NLP methodology. Not quite the generative AI, but using the BERT system. Actually, the work was just published earlier this year in May. What we did in this project was we had our already identified duplicated reports. We also had our non-duplicated report. So we used a simple measure called cosine similarity to look at the similarity between the text, trying to see if the duplicate and non-duplicate are separable. So the right figure shows the cosine similarity distribution of the two groups. The confirmed duplicate median cosine similarity is at 0.87. For the non-duplicate, the median cosine similarity is much lower at 0.48. So yeah, it's not at 0 because even though these are non-duplicates, these are formal certain style or using similar language reporting adverse events. So we capture that. That's why the median cosine similarity is at 0.48. However, you can see from the two histograms, they're quite separable. And if you choose a 0.73 threshold, we actually had 96% sensitivity and 96% specificity. So this result indicates cosine similarity may serve as a decision support tool before we go to expert review to manually process this data. Now, moving on to the EHR challenge. As many of you know that Sentinel is another safety monitoring surveillance system FDA relies on to capture safety signals. And often when a new drug is approved, if there's any safety concern, FDA would evaluate whether we want to issue a PMR, post-marketing requirement, or we're going to rely on Sentinel system to evaluate a potential safety concern. However, sometimes we cannot always use Sentinel to do the work because of the issue that sometimes we cannot identify outcome data accurately, and we cannot capture the covariate information, especially early on. With Sentinel, we could only or mostly rely on the claims data, and we won't be looking into the EHR, electronic health records. However, technology improves, and we start to look into both structured data and unstructured data in the electronic health record. And the next two projects are all about NLP application in EHR. So we first look at a anaphylaxis identification using advanced ML with NLP processing. Anaphylaxis is a severe allergic reaction to drugs or to food, to things like bee stings. And it's been challenging because identifying anaphylaxis is not easy. Anaphylaxis has complex clinical presentations, and often rule-out coding process was used. And at the beginning of this project, existing algorithm only had 63% positive predictive value, and this is lower than the FDA's desired Sentinel ARIA requirement at 80%. And FDA collaborated with a research group led by Kaiser Permanente, Washington, and developed a very sophisticated feature engineering program to create a covariance from the narrative from doctor's notes. It involves multiple steps using custom dictionary with clinical expert review, and look into UML's concepts from the published literature. And this is enriched with synonyms from UML's meta-thesaurus and manual review. And in the end, a context-like algorithm was developed for affirmative mentions. So this is to tell whether this is just mentioning someone having a symptom, or maybe if doctor says, oh, I didn't have that symptom, we need to know the negates. After these steps, 468 candidate covariates was engineered. That's a bit too many. So one more step, through expert judgment, we end up eventually having 100 covariates. So we had a pretty nice result after the modeling and NLP used in the unstructured data. On the figure, you see there are 4 different lines representing the area under the curve of 4 different models. Going from top to the bottom, these 4 models are the most advanced machine learning plus both structured and NLP extracted covariates, to traditional regression with, again, both structured and NLP extracted covariates, to machine learning but using structured only data, to the traditional regression with structured data only. And you all probably well know that the higher the figure, the better the performance. Indeed, our best model had an AUC of 0.71 compared to the most simple model with AUC at only 0.62. And if we pick a 66% sensitivity threshold, the best model achieved 79% positive predictive value. This is substantial improvement over the existing 63% PPV, and certainly demonstrates value of the use of the unstructured data. Now I'm going to move to the second EHR project called Mosaic NLP. This is a collaboration of FDA with a research group led by Oracle Health. The work was just recently finished but not published yet. what I will show you are the data presented at last year's ASP conference. So this study was a large-scale study to demonstrate the value, scalability, and transportability in pharmacoepidemiologic study. It was a retrospective cohort study looking at the data, EHR and claims linked, containing both structured and unstructured data from 2015 to 2022. The study cohort included patients with asthma, newly initiating montelukast, or inhaled corticosteroids. Montelukast is a medication of interest. We want to see if it leads to increased neuropsychiatric events. This methodology used is mostly named entity recognition framework, which includes entity extraction, entity model training, and entity model tuning. I won't get into the technical details of this. Yeah, so this is still not quite a generative model. So we found out that with the NLP, when with the NLP extracted covariates, we can enhance the detection of suicidal ideation, suicidal attempts, and self-harm. We also enhance the detection of covariates. So on the lower left figure, you see the light blue bars representing the unstructured data only, grouped by whether they are before the index date or after the index date. So they're at 10.5% and 13.9%, which represents a pretty significant amount of data. The yellow ones are both structured and unstructured data, so which means information appeared in both fields. On the right-hand side figure, we did 3 analyses looking at using claims-only data to claims plus EHRA structured data to a third analysis using all 3 claims, EHR structured plus EHR unstructured data. And the outcome event rate went from very low at 0.01% to 0.68 higher to eventually 2.8%, 3.25%. So a lot more capturing of the outcome data. Although in the end, we didn't find increased risk associated with montelukast use, we had just more evidence to support our conclusions. So it's important for that capturing of more data. Okay, so this is the last project I'll be sharing with you, which is a COVID-19 social media surveillance. It's I'm more involved with one because it's a summer project where I work with a graduate student from George Washington University. Yeah, I actually never met that student in person because all those everyone was doing remote work. When COVID happened and progressed, our epidemiology colleagues soon find out there is a underreporting of mild and moderate symptoms because traditional surveillance usually captures information from claims or EHR. And patients with very mild or moderate symptoms may not go to their doctors, right? So you won't be able to capture those information using the traditional method. However, these patients might go to social media and complain about, oh, they're getting infected, they're having this very bad symptom, or they have no symptom. So this is definitely a source of information. So when our AP colleague reached out to us, we quickly developed a 2-stage pipeline to first identify COVID cases, and then second, extract symptoms reported. Case identification was more straightforward because we had someone going through the Reddit postings and labeling each poster whether they are infected or not. So we had our gold standard. However, for symptom extraction, it's a little bit more complicated. I'll get to that later. So we use a BERT large model to model the case identification, and we achieved 91.2% accuracy for case identification. And the work was published in 2023 Nature Scientific Report, so there's more information there if you're interested. Okay, now for symptom extraction, because we didn't have our gold standard, this became a unsupervised learning process. A four-step symptom extraction process was established. So first we used BERT BioBERT question answering to capture some words that we consider symptoms. And then word embeddings was used to expansion using Google News word to vec to convert it to vector. And then adaptive rotation clustering was used for semantic grouping. So we want to group those symptoms, especially similar ones, into groups, because otherwise we will be having way too many symptoms, especially a lot of them just use different words, but they're really the same thing. And then these clusters will eventually map to UMLS, so that we eventually report a standardized medical terminology for those symptoms. Because we didn't really have a gold standard for the symptoms, we kind of use external data to validate our model. We look at CDC data from 3 different COVID periods, early, Delta, and Omicron wave. And the below figures show the three time periods. The blue bars represent the CDC reports. The orange one represent the positive cases we extracted. And the orange ones are symptomatic cases. And you can see in general, our findings align with the CDC report fairly well. What we found was that there was decreased reporting of loss of smell over time, but there were increased reporting of sore throat. All right, so I think I cover all 5 case studies, and the take-home message is NLP is a very powerful tool across pharmacovigilance, pharmacoepidemiology, and public health surveillance. You can see that the text sources certainly can vary. There were spontaneous reports, clinical notes, or social media data. But the tool, NLP tool, can certainly work with all different text sources. And the methodology evolved over time quite a bit, from the simple rule-based algorithm to language models. And I believe they'll continue to evolve over time. And automated processing was very essential for scalability and accuracy, because when we did our unsupervised modeling, actually later on, we processed a lot of data in the Omicron wave because there were just more infections. For the future, I believe there will be, it already has happened, that the generative model is gaining popularity and it's more powerful. And there will be even more and better models in the future. Integration of structured and unstructured data sources already has happened, and it'll be more developed and even more complete. For real-time surveillance, the capability will expand in the future. If ever we'll have another pandemic like COVID, I believe our ability to capture information such as symptoms and to treat it better will be there. And all in all, I think as a tool, healthcare NLP will be a very powerful tool to enhance patient safety through improved data extraction, processing, and modeling. So that's all from me, and thank you for your attention.
Yeah, thank you,
Yes.
Dr. Ma, bring us this very important topic and also bring us a lot of use cases. I think this can be applied to a lot of safety area like the safety signal detections and the real world studies. So so let's save some questions to the end. So if you have any question, you can put your questions in the chat box, and Dr. Mark can answer you in text. But we'll also have a chance to ask questions at the Q&A sections. So
Thank you.
yeah, thank you, Dr. Ma. So for next, we will welcome Dr. Xiaoyan Wang. She will talk about the beyond the hyper real-world impact of generative AI in pharma value chains. So Dr. Xiaoyan Wang is a professor at the Department of Healthy Policy and Management of Tulane University and the chief scientist of IMO Health. So she is a leading researcher in biomedical informatics and health economics with really extensive experience in applied AI and large language model to transform healthcare, life science, clinical development, and drug commercializations. So she has authored hundreds of publications and lead many innovation and guidelines for evaluating a large language model in HEOR, HTA, and drug development. So previously, she was CSO of Miralax and VP of Healthcare Analytics and Informatics at GeneDx. So she was a faculty member at the University of Connecticut and the Yukon Health Center and Mount Sinai Health System, which bring health research and also teachings. So she held a PhD degree in biomedical informatics and natural language process from Columbia University School of Medicine. So let's welcome Dr. Xiaoyan Wang.
Thank you so much, Lan, for the nice introduction. Let me start to share my slides before I. Can you see my slides well?
Yes.
Okay, lovely. Thank you. Yeah, let me do the slideshow. It's that. Thank you so much, Lian, and also the community for having me have this opportunity to explain what I've done, particularly in the drug safety and also in the area of generative AI. It looks like I have a little bit too much content, so you can really stop me to say, "Oh, this is not relevant to what we do." Just skip it, and I'll just quickly skip it. Otherwise, I'll do a little bit kind of flash talk. Just want to really share what's really happening, in the fields and also from my own perspective. This is the agenda I put together for today. I'll start with a brief introduction on, insights of, value chains, AI, data, evidence generation. Then I'll go deeper on the data and evidence and the data coming from clinical literature, social listening, RCTs, and all that. So what kind of evidence we would really need in the whole pharma value chains. And also I moved to a different topic, which is on the reporting. Can we really automate the reporting system? Because, most of you are either from the government or pharmaceutical or industry, there's a lot of documents needed to be generated in the process. I'll conclude my talk by 2 points. One is how we build the trustworthy AI and also the data intelligence needed for the value chain generation. So this is what I really see. Three things are important for everything what we do, which are three things are quality, speed, and cost. So for whatever task, innovation, technology we bring to the real world settings, the first thing is we need to truly make sure it's working in terms of accuracy and the data quality is in good enough state, and also it saves time and also it saves cost. So that is really the three metrics drives all our innovations and technology advancement. So I'll try to tackle those in another three angles, which is data, a model, and also knowledge. So everything what we do, data is fundamental, very fundamental foundation of everything. And AI models, on one hand, can unlock more data. On the other hand, can also really digest the data to generate new knowledge. And also, use case knowledge contains two parts. One is what we've already known, the prior knowledge, and also what knowledge we want to generate. So those are, I'm going to use those three things to drive my rest of my presentation. So I want to first start with kind of a terminology alignment. So I think AI is such a buzzword in the community for last at least 3 years. So I like to really explain. Lots of people use all those terms interchangeably, but they actually quite different. I mean, at least they different. So the first thing is AI, which is pretty much all the technologies, methodologies automate those manual process we've done in the past. Machine learning is one branch of it, and then deep learning is one set of machine learning, which is really set the methodology foundation for this wave of generative AI, because all the transformer structures and then the BERT, and also as Dr. Ma just showed earlier, so those are what really happened in the last 10 years. So GPT is not new itself, because in the community, GPT methodology was up around 2018, and the GPT-1 from OpenAI was actually up 2020, focused on the script coding training. They tried to really automate, programming and scripting at the time. So GPT 3.5, which was behind the first wave of ChatGPT, really opens this wave of generative AI. It really gets the whole community or the society excited about a lot of things. So NLP, natural language processing, which Dr. Ma showed very nice user cases, is the fields have been trying to solve the linguistic problems. Language is probably the most challenging thing. What do we do? I've been joking a lot in my past, which is 95% of the problems coming from the communication problems, because what I'm talking right now and what you hear, the third person hear, all different things probably, because language have its ambiguity itself. So NLP itself has been considered as the kinds of, jewel for the AI crown for last 50, 70 years. It still is, even with this wave of large language models. So NLP solve a lot of problems related to linguistic problems utilizing methodologies coming from deep learning, machine learning, transformers, and all those things to solve lots of problems, summarization, translation, sentiment analysis, and all that. So this is pretty much the terminology element. I think I probably do not need to convince this group that this wave of the generative AI really impact healthcare a lot in many ways. I mean, the big things probably it's actually last year it won 2 Nobel Prize, in both medicine and also chemistry. So maybe let me just jump to directly. This is the one. This is the most updated user cases. For example, using agentic AI, which is instead, because for the last 2-3 years we pretty much do something like prompt engineering, just ask or query large language model directly. But the agentic AI sets a layer between human and also large language models to set different goals, different tasks. They can really work, interactively with themselves to solve a lot of problems. So this is one setting which like 300 diagnosis cases was given to 3 groups. The first group are the real physicians, doctors we see every day. And then in the second group are those generic models, something like a Grok, Gemini, GPT, or Sonnet, all those ones. And then the third one is agentic AI implementation. So those 3 groups try to solve those 300 diagnosis cases to see if they can give the right answer. So two metrics was used to measure this. The first one, X, which is the dollar money. So the dollar amount of how much money was used to solve this in terms of the time and all that. And then the Y is being the accuracy of the diagnosis was given by different groups. So the final conclusions you can see I lay out here. So agentic AI is 4 times higher, offers 4 times higher accuracy and 20% lower cost. So this is the potential of the, technologies can offer in healthcare, one of those. So I'm not saying that we're still very far away to really, replace but this is really good assistant tools for physicians. There are a lot of advancements in the community, such as ambient technology, which is, setting behind, physician's office and record all the conversations between doctors and the physicians, and also do the voice to text translation, and then write all the notes, because the physician notes documentation has been a big burden for physicians. They not only write the notes, but also offers a lot of, next step assessment suggestions. So time saving is definitely there, for healthcare. So there are so many examples we can talk if interested. So this is, again, I've been saying this, I think this waves of generative AI is just like the kind of industrial revolution happened a couple of 100 years ago, how steam engine really freed up our hands, but this generative AI really freed up our brain this time. So I know we have FDA professionals here. I just really want to bring out these slides to show FDA actually been using the GPT technologies in the entire agency, and it was fully pushed out by June of this past June. And I really love to hear the experiences from that end. It started with the CDER scientific review. Now it is to the whole agency. So I just want to use this to really to talk about the whole drug development value chains, what has been implemented from the generative AI end. So from the early stage of discovery, there are a lot of needs there in terms of the literature review, drug repurposing, real-world evidence, social listening, and patent review, competitive intelligence. All of those can and have been really implemented with large language models. Same thing for the testing, human testing, RCT end. Clinical development, there was a lot of those, including the clinical trial optimization, designing, and all that has been assisted with generative AI, at least from a scientific point of view. And also the data review ends, though again, literature for HTA, FDA submissions and document processing and all that. Then post-marketing commercialization, there was a lot of work has been done as well. Today, I think I bold some of those cases. I can probably go through. I'll start with drug repurposing and around a couple of RWE in particularly related to drug safety, and I may touch a little bit clinical trial, how large language models could impact that, and then go to the literature and then document generation and also social listening as well. Dr. Ma has very nicely covered some of the use cases. I can skip some of the backgrounds there. So yeah, this is the second session. So we'll go through a couple of user cases on that. I'll start with drug discovery. So this is the work we've been doing by manning all existing literature and do the classical NLP implementation, really find out what drug treats what disease, and the disease have some kind of symptom representation, signs, and also what molecular pathways they've been through, what kind of mutation caused to what kind of disease. All those different entities are semantically connected by causes, like drug causes ADE or the ADE associated with, some kind of therapeutic indications and all that. So the first module of the framework was to manage through all the literatures and build a knowledge graph on all those different entities. Then the second one was to embedding all those into the structure, vector structures, really understand how semantically those all different entities are connected. Then the third one is a scoring system, really based on how we really to see which evidence or hypothesis is more valuable, because there was a lot of evidence around that, and then the research coming from reputable researchers or labs, and with very global collaboration and all that. So the scoring system was used to generate a hypothesis to see, okay, drug A was approved by FDA or EMA for indication 1, but based on the literature many, now we're suggesting indication 2, 3, 5 to really see those are potential indications can be repurposed. So those are hypotheses. Then fourth one is the explainable hypothesis to really see if a new hypothesis generated, is that real or not real. So we do have agentic AI system implemented to really say, okay, is this valuable? Yes or no? I think I have this slides really show how the agentic AI system works. So basically, we set 3 agents in this process. The first agent is a PI or investigator who's picking the hypothesis generated from a proximal module and then send it to data agents to really say, okay, can you provide all the data related to this hypothesis? Then what the data scientist agent was doing, just review, just send all the data for the third agent, who's a domain expert, mostly like, feeding with medical knowledges, to really review to see if that's correct. So this process repeated iteratively and then reach the final say to say this is a validated hypothesis or yes or no. So this is the, explainable agent we set up in the process. I can speak, I can probably, because we don't have time, I will be really brief on the evaluation. So what we did is, this is all the existing repurposed drugs already approved by FDA. Now, what we did is we look back 2 years before the new clinical trials set for the new indications to see if the evidence was enough to predict the new indications 2-3 years before the new clinical trials. So as you can see, it actually covers very well. So that is the my quick review on that project. So next, I'll move to the real-world data, real-world evidence end of it. So I think this is, again, coming from FDA on different types of real-world data. In the whole healthcare, those are RCT data. Those are all, the rest of them pretty much goes to RWD. And I'll focus on EHR's literature and social media in the next 5-10 minutes. I think I can really skip this, but really the safety terms across the whole drug development pathways. So data end, I think Dr. Kama explains very well in all those ends. I'll be really brief to say there's another way of classifying the data. One is structured, the other is unstructured. In the EHRs, only 20% of clinical information existed in the structured format. The rest of 80% existed only in the narrative or unstructured test. So this is one of the examples we did. So this is really in the clinical notes, talking about the whole patient journey. Really, this is just one sentence, but really talk about what is the initial diagnosis and at what time surgery happened, and then at what time the adjuvant chemotherapy worked, and then how the disease progressed from initial diagnosis to the recurrence metastatic status, and also what is the current survival status. So all those patient journey information existed very well in clinical narratives. This is another one on rare disease. we've been working on, because I'm leading the rare disease working group at ASA, so we run a lot of cross-institution work around the clinical notes. This is one of the keys we've been studying. As you can see, there's a whole patient journey on, what is pretty much for rare diseases, it actually tracks the patient from the time he or she was born and what kind of symptoms, signs triggers the screening process, and then how the screening process finally leads to the confirmative diagnosis, and then how disease was progressed, how the medications or treatment was evaluated in terms of the safety and efficacy. So we don't have time to go through the details, but as you can see, very nice detail actually documented by physicians in clinical notes. So I think, thank you, Dr. Muff, explaining the NLP. I don't have to go through this in details, but basically what we've been doing is, so this is a project. We actually process a lot of oncology pathology report. It has, of course, narrative and also sometimes handwritten notes. What we did is through NLP now using large language models is process all those entities in not only the standard entity, but also encoded with standard terminology. So we can do the downstream analysis. So this is Dr. Ma showed a couple of EHR studies. I just almost forgot I actually published this work about almost 15, 17 years ago. So this is one of my PhD project back to Columbia. So we actually, this is the first piece of the work using EHR to do pharmacovigilance at the time. It was the first piece. And also, I think after this, quite some of my colleagues are working in this field and published very nice work afterwards. So what we did in this work is, so pretty much we dissect all those different kind of symptoms and signs, diseases, try to find how they're related to each other. So on the left end, I show how we really process NLP. So this is, I probably don't have to go through how we do it, but on the right end, so you can see we're trying to dissect the triangle. What is the drug indication is, what is a known ADEs and what is the new indications, how they link to each other. So we pretty much used, the EHR, NLP, and statistics to really figure out what is the true indications and new possible potential ADEs. So this is what we've done many years ago. So using EHR, another piece of work we did was the CAR-T therapies using EHR. This is what I did at Sinai Medical School back to the time. So pretty much this is, we managed through all the patients treated with CAR-T therapies, try to find the, CRS, cytokine release syndrome, was one of the very important adverse events or side effects. Truly, lots of people were not able to tolerate that. So they really want to see what is the existing status for this, for this CRS and also related neurotoxicity signals. So when we manage through all the nodes across to it, and then get all those very well understand by saying is there any kind of CRS and when that concept, and also the time window across those lines, you can get some of those happen early or later and how they related to each other, the grades and all that. Same thing for different kind of, the other neurotoxicity signals. We also was in line of the work doing the CRS toxicity prediction, meaning so we just really want to find for all the patients, so what kind of signals they had before the CAR-T treatment, after CAR-T treatment, and also how long does it take to go to the onset of CRS and what really predicts it. We actually profiled a lot of, this is just the ferritin examples. We actually manned through about 20 of those features to see which one is predictive for CRS at the time using EHR and NLPs. So that is, how we manage notes. I do want to take a minute to talk about, how we really use the data across different institutions. In the community of informatics, we've been investing a lot of time in the past 20 years to really see if the idea of common data model can really be used to really analyze data across different institutions. So basically, common data model idea was to call the same thing, the same name in the same format, so we can query them across different institutions. So this is the one of the common data model called OMAP. Coming from Columbia, and so I'm pretty much working in two working group. One of the NLP working group, the other is a rare disease working group. We really trying to understand if we can really broaden the sample size of the community. So that is the idea. And then this is a paper we published about 2 years ago, how we standardize clinical notes and also the output from NLP to really facilitate downstream analysis. And this is the kind of data availability after treatment with clinical NLP and also the ETL. So this is about 150 million patients available. The whole odyssey is not only US based, it's actually globally based. Right now it's about more than 800 data have been transformed in this format for analysis. So next, let me move to the literature and public data. So what's really available in the public data. So there are a lot of advancements for this wave of large language models. So pretty much, let me just run quickly on what you need to do. You just send the question, your research question or study objective. So there was automated methodologies can be implemented to really generate the query based on your research question, then generate those something like PICO framework, if you're familiar with the systematic literature review, and then really screen the data to see which ones are relevant to your research questions, which ones are not. Then for all those relevant ones, you extract all the data elements of your interest, so you can do the meta-analysis. So there are about a lot of work. It was very actually time consuming, takes months, more close to a year to finish that. But the large language models can do a lot of this work. This is the paper we just it's actually out a couple of weeks ago. We implemented agentic AI framework to really automate the process and then to generate the final report. On the back end, those are the input data coming from the conference abstract or the manuscript coming from PubMed, Embase, and all those databases. Then terminology used to standardize all the variants, so coming from MASH, UMS, and then all those different knowledge base, and then sending to those agents. So the first agent is the query generator. So pretty much take your research question or study objective into a query, so you can really search PubMed or any of those, then go through the PICO generator. So you can really, based on your study objective, so generate what is the population and outcome competitors you was trying to do, then go to the screening to really first screening abstract and then screening the full text to find all the relevant articles, then go through quite some of the text table graph processing, get the data extracted, and then evaluate the bias or quality of each articles, then get the final report. And then this is what you would see in the front end. So because of that technology advancements, you can really see a lot of, for certain indications, you can process what be known on the epidemiology and natural history, economic burden, or CEA, or all kinds of those. So you get the 360-degree understanding of the indications would foresee your next step applications in terms of the all those submit internally or externally. This is a study we did to really compare the time saving and quality of what has been done in the traditional way and what has been done in the large language model processing. As you can see, so on the both screening extraction takes months to finish, but if you do it, it's really just hours of it. And accuracy, actually, we keep finding machine does outperform the human in both screening and extraction. And this is a performance we measured compared to the pure human approach. So because this at the end, human have limited time and energy to really read through the whole text, but the machine just tirelessly read the whole text and give the right answer most of the time. So this is one of the rare disease studies we did from the literature, process all the case reports. Because rare disease is very hard to find those patients, but we just really want to find what public data can really offer. Pretty much we used large language model and knowledge graph process all those data to really find what is the treatment pattern in the whole cohort and really find what is the treatment. This is a line of therapy to really see what is the first therapy and the second in the community and all that. So I think we can just skip on that. So next one, I want to talk a little bit on the conference voucher we've been having. One of the conference voucher we have is ASCOmind, which is pretty much we process all the existing abstract of ASCOmind. The reason is it's actually very important. Most of the early stage clinical trial data, they only not only, but mostly they announced in those major conferences is before the full manuscript will be 3-5 years later. So if you want to capture very timely information on who's doing what in what area, conference is the best place to be. The first. So we again, implemented this agentic AI platforms and really process a lot of stuff. So we probably don't have time to go through the particular study. This is the multiple myeloma studies we've been doing. The good thing is we actually fit in the treatment guidelines and say the guidelines to this agentic AI system. They learn very well on how they classify the disease to be newly identified or it's a recurrent repetitive diseases and what is the most benefit or risky population of it. It really success at everything very well. So that is on the conference processing end. So this is a study we did again using the literature, both conference abstract and also full manuscript to really capture trial results reporting the efficacy and the safety of studies. So this is a paper called C trial if you're interested to read. So pretty much we analyzed all the reported efficacy data and also safety data and what kind of, who's reporting what percentage of which kind of safety signals. For this one I'm showing on is again in the CAR-T and biospecifics and ADC therapies in multiple myeloma. Again, we probably don't have time to really go through the scientific details, but for this group, I really just want to show you those are very readily available if you use, large language models, implemented agentic AI approach to get it. So, instead of months or years of waiting, this really implementation takes us just a couple of weeks, and then you can really just do it now within seconds to really read all the most recent studies on the safety or efficacy of whichever treatment you're following. So this is again automated reporting across different studies, who's reporting what kinds of efficacy signals or the toxic signals, and then this is the CRS again across different early stage trial. So that is the literature, and let me move to another one, which is a social media. Dr. Ma very nicely covered a couple of use cases around it. So I think the beauty of social, I think almost every one of us, use some kind of a social media platform for certain use cases. In the past, we actually published quite some papers in vaccine. How do people really think about the vaccine? They trust it, not trust it, why is it, or how the message was spread from one to another, and those kind of things can be studied. And also another thing is also voices coming from patients or different stakeholders, nurses, KOLs, or all those, they all express their perspectives across the social media, which can be mined very nicely. So this is an example talking about one of the rare diseases on the patient journey and all that. So this is the paper we published particularly, in a certain subgroup of the patient, what are the challenges, barriers they have receiving what kind of care. So we really, this kind of things can really help them to construct a very customized supporting structures for this specific group. So this is another study what we did. This is the drug have been approved, but with a black box warning on kidney, monitoring. So we've been really research on for the years the drug is on market. What kind of topics have been discussed? Of course, one of them is the safety side effects of it. And also this is on different topics, and then this is the trending wise, how it looks like for last years, the drug is on market. This is a sentiment analysis showing across all that. So in general, it's in the good momentum or bad ones. It's really for the pharmaceutical companies to figure out, what is the current momentum for these drugs. So this is another case study of social listening. So I'll go quickly on the clinical trial and how we really do that. So pretty much this project, we actually processed all the existing IE criteria from clinical protocols, data coming from CityGov or Trial 12. We process all of them to be structured. And not only structured, but also with all the modifiers to really see what entity has what kind of attributes and what kind of conditions with what kind of time frames. And also this is, again, the evaluation across different type of indications, solid tumor, HIMSS, neuroscience, and then NASH, and also rare diseases, immunology. It works well. This is actually, we published this within the first year of GPT. It's actually now the data is much better. That is that. And then this is another one. So we also connected to real world data with the IE criteria to find who's treating what patient at where. It helps the sponsors really figure out what is the right sites and who's the right PI to choose for what kind of clinical trials. So this we combining the real world data, the published data and data from governments really supporting all the data. This is the trial emulation. So pretty much we get the real world data process. This is one of the non-small cell lung cancer studies. So what we did is we tried to see if we change the data from one criteria to another, how many patients gain or lose at the recruitment, which gave the pretty good idea for pharma to really figure out, okay, if I change whatever criteria, how likely it will impact my recruitment in real world setting, and also how likely it will affect the endpoint analysis. This is, I think I can split this. So external control arms. So this is, again, we use large language models to process all the data and then find the eligible patients. And then we do the patient simulation, similarity studies to really find, who are most of the similar patients. They can really be paired as, external control arm with experimental arms and all that. So we use, of course, propensity score, which is a classic statistics method. We also use quite a machine learning methodologies to compute, such as greedy, nearest neighbor, and a couple of those to really compute that. Let me move to the last topic of it, which is the automated document generation. I think I don't have to explain to this group why that's needed, because there are thousands of documents needed in the whole drug development process, and it takes a very lengthy time to process it. So we did two of them, not two, I'm showing two of them. One is auto criteria, how you can really use the existing IE criteria protocols really help you to design your own. So pretty much you just put your natural language keywords or questions into the system, because all the data is processed to be structured and can be queried. So it can find all the relevant trials, and then also show which criteria was the most popular one. And then if you click those, and then you find all the different values for each specific criteria, then you can just choose if you want to use it or not use it, or which one you want to use it, and then you want to, write it to your protocol. So this is that. Another one is SAP. I think this group probably very familiar with the SAP generation. So pretty much what we did is we take the clinical protocol, and then also the template, and then we go this workflow to generate it, the SAP automatically. You can review edits, if you wanted to, and then at the end it writes the whole protocol. So I'm going to conclude quickly. First, a couple of things. One is, to achieve the end goal of accurate and affordable and fast application with large language models can unlock a lot of data and generate evidence based on large language models, knowledge graph, and then can also automate it, the documentation. So I want to use this to paint a, kind of scape understanding. So we're taking lots of data, clinical trial data, publication data, real world data, and social listening, or lots of internal data, or the guidance data come from FDA, EMA, and all that. So we do a lot of processing in different modules, and then support the tooling around clinical trials, and then generate a report around it. So I don't have time to cover a lot of trustworthy part of it, but this is the main topic. Everything what we do, so we evaluate, and also we build the model, we keep evaluate and evaluate before deployment. And this is the last one I want to show, which is really what I think the future healthcare AI ecosystem will look like. So at the back end, this is a standard protocol foundation model, how we really build on that. Start with all kind of data integration, tuning, and build models, and then we send out in different settings with specialization, and then we learn all the knowledge is fitting in the model to make it better. So this circle continues and all that. So just acknowledgement for my team who is all behind all this work. And questions.
Yeah, thank you, Xiaoyang, for so bring us so rich materials. So I think a lot of us may take some time of this webinar to digest. So if I have any questions for Xiaoyang, feel free to put it into the chat box. And thank you, Xiaoyang, once again. So for the next, I would like to invite our distinguished panelists to share their reflection on presentations, and also offer insight from their unique both because one of my panelists from the regulatory and another one from industries, so they can bring the insight from both regulatory and industries. So this is also an opportunity to deep dive into the practical reality, ethical challenges, and future opportunities. So let me introduce our two panelists. Dr. Bob Ball is Deputy Director, Office of Surveillance and Epidemiology, which is OSE, for CDER of FDA. So where he shared a responsibility leading OSE in pre-marketing and post-marketing regulation of drug and therapeutic biology through the adverse event surveillance, pharmacoepidemiology, risk management, and also medication error prevention. His recent research has included the application of artificial intelligence to improve the evaluation of medical product safety and effectiveness in electronic health care data system. So Dr. Bill Wang is another panelist who is the executive director in the Department of Biostatistics Research Decision Science at Merck. So he has over 30 years of experience working in the pharma industry, including 25 years at Merck, and he also has extensive experience in clinical trial design, analysis, reporting, and regulatory filings across multiple therapeutic areas. And also, Dr. Wang has served as the deputy topic leader for the ICH E17 working group on simultaneous global drug development, and he has played a leading role in the establishment of ASA safety working group. So Dr. Bill Wang has co-authored two books, multi-regional clinical development after E17, and also another book on quantitative drug safety and benefit risk evaluations. And he is also elected as the fellow of ASA in 2018. So let's welcome Dr. Wang and Dr. Ball. So before we start the panel discussion, I would like to ask the two panelists, do you have any comments for both presentation?
Bob, you go first.
I can start. First, thanks for having me on the panel, and it was great to see, both very interesting presentations. What strikes me is the variety of methods that are available in AI and the variety of application areas. And I think, of course, rightly so, all the excitement these days is on generative AI, but it's important to remember that there's a lot of different technologies that are available to us, some of which might get the job done, very efficiently. So that's an area of opportunity, I think, for us to fully understand how to apply all these different approaches to these different applications.
Thank you, Dr. Ball. Bill, do you have any comments?
Just to add to Bob, the general comment, I feel first, thank you for, Xiaoyan and Yang Ma for two great presentation. And you cover different perspective of the opportunity, but there are some things really in common when I listen to it. I think one thing clearly in common is the AI opportunity to turn huge amount of multi-source data into something we can use from a non-structured to structured data. But when you do that, there's a lot of potential issues, being there's incomplete data, incorrect data, sometimes could be data not representative. So how does the AI can handle that? And I think both presentation have really give ideas and solutions, but also potential ways for us to work together to mitigate. So not only I see the challenge through your term, but I see opportunities for us work together, and particularly thinking about the ASA safety working group, and particularly in our partnership with the US FDA through the public-private partnership. So I have a lot of thought regarding how we collaborate together, inspired by the two presentations.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. And so for the next, we will ask a few questions and for both the panelists and the speakers. Let's start with Dr. Ma. So I know Dr. Ma has presented several use cases. So do you see any other potential of using AI to improve the data accuracy, completeness in the post-marketing safety, especially the FIAS system? We know that a lot of post-marketing safety, the data may be messy and also under-reporting.
Yeah. So the question for me, right? Yeah.
Yes, for you, and also any from panelists you can chime in.
Okay. I'll start and be brief. Yeah, definitely. I think the narratives from the FIAS reporting, it's a good source of information, can certainly be processed more to provide information and also help automate and streamline the process of reviewing this information, because right now they're still mostly manually reviewed. So yeah, there's a lot of place to use AI to improve our safety monitoring. Yeah, both in the FEAR system and in the Sentinel system.
Yeah, and I'll just add a few things. We at FDA have built something called the Information Visualization Platform, which sits on top of FAIRS. It's intended to be a platform for AI algorithms to do exactly what Young was just saying. It's to try to improve it's an internally focused tool, but it's a general concept to improve the organization and extraction of the data to prevent our safety evaluators, in particular, the data from the narratives. And so one of the AI tools, which is a classic AI tool, we call it an accessibility algorithm. And what that does is it asks the question, is the information in the narrative and in the structured data sufficient for a safety evaluator to make an assessment? And maybe not surprisingly, most of the reports don't get high scores on accessibility. And so then that naturally leads to the question as well, is it possible, since most reports come from required reporting from pharmaceutical companies, to improve the data quality in the reports? And, of course, all these reports originate from person interacting with a company somehow. And sometimes they provide good information, sometimes they don't. And there are requirements to do follow-up. So there's a lot of already being done in space, but I think there's a lot more that can be done, and it can be facilitated by these AI technologies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think with the rapid development of AI, this could be a potential solution to long-term resistant issues on post-marketing safeties. And another related question is that so both Dr. Ma and Dr. Wang mentioned the social media data. So now we have more and more rich social media data, but it's even more difficult to analyze. First of all, how to extract the data. We know it's there, but how we can get them, and also how to link them with our current data, medical data, and how we can transfer them into a structured way so that we can analyze. So how can AI improve that by extracting synthesized data?
I can start to drop to my 2 cents. So I think methodology-wise, AI, particularly large language model-wise, would make a very low bar right now to extract information from social media and to get them to really process the data, become information, sometimes evidence or knowledge. I think the challenge still is, I think what AI can provide is consume the existing data in a format for you to really easy to process, but that is only one part of the decision making. So once you have the data, but how you really statistics to show, between the drug, the disease and adverse events. So the adverse event, is that coming from the drug or really, we can only build association, but the causality is not there. So a lot of statistics challenges still there. And also now the second part of your question linked to, how we really connect the data from social media and then to clinical. I think data challenge is the most challenge in the whole world right now, even with the AI and all that. AI can unlock some of those data, but the data integration still coming from a lot of, who owns whatever the data and all that, a lot of regulation issues there other than technology issues.
Mm. Yeah, that's a good point. That really bring us more important role as statisticians work on this AI wave. So another related questions, maybe this is for more for Dr. Young and Dr. Ball. So social media data, do you see any privacy issues, and in how we, regulatory, how we can manage that? So, Dr. Ball, do you have any insight?
Sure, I can start. So I think the social media space is very complicated, and there from a regulatory perspective, it's divided into social media that pharmaceutical companies control, and social media that they don't control. So examples of that would be if a pharmaceutical company had like a channel, a social media channel where people could interact and ask questions about those products. That has certain requirements about that the company has to monitor that and extract the information and assess whether or not it meets the requirements for an individual case safety report, and then submit it, as assess it and submit it as appropriate. Probably the bigger challenge is in the more like open spaces, and there sometimes companies will get that data from a company, and that data is used under a data use agreement between pharmaceutical company and the social media group, which typically also involves managing personally identified information. And the approach there is a little bit different, because typically a company will be analyzing that data, and it's not exactly the same thing as like a formal study, but there are there should be essentially like a written document that describes how the analysis is being done and how adverse event reporting from those studies is being undertaken. And then it gets even more complicated when you get into social media that is sort of privately owned, and where there's a lot of patient exchanging of information. So it is a complicated area. And I would second the idea that this is not just a technical issue, but it depends a lot on data use agreements and other legal requirements.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah, thank you for comments. Yeah, I think this is really the area that both from the policy and also technical methodology, we need to spend more time, but this could be a good area that we can devote our time to improve the post-marketing safeties.
So I'll just make one other little plug here. The ICH E2D R1 adverse event reporting guideline has just been completed, and one of the foci of that revision is this particular area, how to deal with data in social media. So that's posted on the ICH website if you're interested in taking a deeper dive into the current thinking around that.
Yeah, thank you. So let's switch to another topic. I mean, both Dr. Ma and Dr. Wang's talk has talked about the outcome definition and predictions. So so it's really unlikely in trial setting. In trial setting, outcome is really well defined. How to collect them and what event is should be qualified. But in the real world data, I mean, second use of the data. So we need to derive that, and AI could be way that could be help to define the algorithm and also improve the positive predictive values. So do you see any gaps still remaining, and how AI can or other technology can help?
You want Yang and answer Yang and Xiaoyan answer first?
Yeah, maybe you can start.
I mean, to me, I think both of them really offer a good example and suggestions. But I think how to put those into a regulatory context is where both the opportunity and challenge is. But I think the FDA's AI guidance give a very good framework where we can think about this, and particularly in this particular setting, if the outcome is one of the primary or secondary endpoint, and we need to understand that question. We want to answer the clinical question. I think that's the top of that so-called risk-based credibility framework, which lay out very nicely in that AI guidance. And with that, then you can get down to what are the actual definition and how you're going to implement it through your AI algorithm. But very importantly, you need to understand the actual interpretability, repeatability, and generalizability. That particularly if you are thinking about getting a claim or getting a sort of label description, not only in the US population, in a global population, you have to think about in those terminologies. So, and then the guidance itself actually lay out a couple of other steps. I feel we need to go through some real exercise to follow that guidance. I would love to see more examples to go on that kind of framework.
I really like what you said, Bill, because what I observe, I think data technology are important, but they really just the other side of story. I think the knowledge, scientific knowledge, clinical knowledge coming from, the clinical scientific community or guideline, based on all those treatment and all that, how that really fits into the regulatory framework and environments. And also, I think technology data can help. It's actually needs to coming from all different stakeholders and parties. As you said, we need to run a couple of practices around it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Any more comments, Dr. Ma and Dr. Bong?
I would add maybe one or two other things because I agree with what was said, and particularly the idea that if you're talking about a computable phenotype, just as an example for an outcome using real world data, performance metrics are just the starting point, and then one has to think about explainability, interpretability, transparency, reproducibility. We know it's been demonstrated over and over again that computable phenotypes performance differs in different in different healthcare environments. So there's a lot of that kind of work and then documentation that has to be done to build the confidence that those outcomes and those algorithms can be trusted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So thank you. So we are on time a little bit. So let's closing this panel discussion. So thank you all for your great comments and discussions. So for the next, let's closing this webinar. So Bill, do you want to give us a closing remark?
So Lian, you do not have a Q&A?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, yes. So let's see, from audience, do you have any questions?
Yeah, just make sure there's any burning question there.
Yeah, I think the audience are still digest from because there are a lot of material just presented. So if you have any questions, feel free to send us emails, and I think Dr. Wang and Dr. Ma can reply to you in emails. So if no other questions, let's move to the closing remark.
Okay, well, I think it's supposed to be given by our current working group leadership, but there's a conflict. So I'm kind of serving on that role for the ASA Safety Working Group. I really want to thank you, all the speaker, and Leon, you organized this. Also, particular thank our Outreach Communication Committee, Michelle and Susan, for making this happen. Particular invite Dr. Bo and Dr. Yama from the US FDA to participate as a part of our PPP, Public Partnership. Like I said at the beginning, I do see this AI, whatever you call it, AI revolution or AI, it does provide a really good opportunity, particularly for our safety working group as the communities. And we need to think about how do we make our working group not only be AI literacy, increase that, but also be AI enabled, where we can think about our different work stream, different task force, ask that question, can we use this new technology or new way to enhance what we do? This can apply to our work stream one that is more focused on the cross-disciplinary process and sometimes cross-disciplinary tool that can, including our workstream 2, where we talk a lot of methodology, including, for example, the causal methodologies. Can AI be used to not only answer the association question, can the AI be used to help answer the causal question? I think the workstream 2 have a lot of things we can think about. Of course, workstream 3, we have been focused on the integration of the real-world evidence and the randomized evidence. But I remember almost 8 years ago when we created the workstream 3, the very reason was the question of causality. And particularly, I remember the time we launched that working group is the Book of Why by Judy Perot, where he laid out the structural causality framework, but also apply that to the real-world evidence. And so I feel the AI potentially can give us really ways to think more creatively, more innovatively to answer that question. And some of the examples share that it's really leaning towards that direction. So I'm really glad to see those opportunities. I was hoping our working group can really have a further discussion and to think about at different level, a leadership level, a work stream level, at the task force level, how we can leverage and utilize and materialize some of these great opportunities. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Bill. And with that, so let me first thank you all our working group members for planning this webinar, including Michelle, Susan, Wei, James, Judy, Nathan, Tarek, and Wei Wang. And that's really put off a lot of working group members' efforts. So last but not least, so if you're interested on this topic, so feel free to connect with us. We will have additional webinar will be announced. You can follow us at LinkedIn and send an email to us. With that, thank you for your participation, and looking forward to see you in the next webinar.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.